Why won't you say something? The billionaire's voice thundered through the mansion, echoing against marble walls. His son sat frozen, small hands trembling on the desk, eyes pleading but silent. Then, tap, 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 a rhythm, desperate yet deliberate. The father dismissed it as nonsense, but the nanny's heart raced. She knew what it meant. She tapped back, and in that fragile moment, the boy's silence shattered into language. The truth was undeniable. He was never deaf, just unheard. This is the story of a father blinded by pride, and the black nanny who uncovered his son's hidden voice. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. The mansion stood in silence, its tall windows reflecting wealth that could buy anything except love. Inside, behind polished marble floors and grand chandeliers, lived a boy who never spoke. The world believed he couldn't. Doctors called him deaf, specialists labeled him unteachable, and his father, the billionaire, accepted the diagnosis as fact. To him, the boy's silence was just another problem money couldn't fix. The father provided everything material: private tutors, expensive therapies, luxurious toys. Yet none of it reached the child. The boy sat quietly in the corner of the mansion's vast rooms, eyes lowered, fingers tapping faint rhythms on the arm of his chair. His father pitied him, but never tried to truly understand. There was always a meeting to attend, a deal to close, a reputation to protect. Connection required time, and time was something he never offered. Then came her arrival. She wasn't born into wealth, nor did she wear the confidence of high society. She was a black woman, hired as the boy's nanny, expected only to supervise, feed, and ensure order in the house. The staff whispered about her, how she didn't belong, how she'd never last. But when she entered the boy's world, something shifted. Unlike others, she didn't rush to correct him, didn't look at him with pity. She simply sat with him, quietly, patiently, and for the first time the boy lifted his eyes to meet another's. A flicker of recognition passed, so faint it might have gone unnoticed by anyone else. But she saw it. To everyone else, the boy was trapped in silence. To her, he was waiting for someone to truly listen. What she would soon uncover in that silence would not only change the boy's life, but would shake the very foundation of his father's heart. Days turned into weeks, and while the mansion bustled with order and formality, the boy's world quietly began to change. The nanny noticed details others dismissed. The way his fingers tapped patterns on the table, the way his gaze followed shapes in the air, and the faint hum in his throat when he thought no one was listening. These were not random quirks. They were attempts, tiny signals reaching out for connection. One afternoon, while the father was away on business, she placed a simple wooden block in front of him. Instead of stacking it like other children, he traced a shape on its surface, repeating the same movement until she realized he was forming a pattern. She mirrored the motion with her own hands, and for the first time his eyes lit up. It was as if he had been waiting for someone who understood the unspoken language he had created. The breakthrough was undeniable. Slowly, the boy began to respond, tapping, gesturing, humming, each action layered with meaning. The nanny recognized it as a form of communication. It wasn't conventional, but it was his. And with each interaction, his world of silence grew louder, brighter, and fuller. But not everyone welcomed this discovery. Other staff whispered in disapproval. "She's encouraging nonsense," they muttered. "The boy will never be normal." Their prejudice wasn't just about the child. It was about her. A black woman daring to succeed where expensive doctors and white professionals had failed. The subtle looks, the dismissive tones, the quiet mockery, she had endured it before. But now, it threatened the fragile progress of the boy she cared for. When the billionaire returned, she tried to share what she had seen. His response was cold, practical. "He's deaf." The specialists were clear. "Don't confuse yourself with fantasies." His voice carried not just disbelief, but something deeper, an unwillingness to trust her insight. After all, in his world, expertise was measured by wealth and status. To him, she was just the help, yet she refused to give up. In stolen moments between lessons and meals, she continued to nurture the boy's secret language. The bond between them grew stronger, almost inseparable. The boy, once lifeless, now smiled when she entered the room. He tugged her hand to show her new rhythms. His world was opening, and she was the only bridge, but that bridge was fragile. One evening, during a formal gathering at the mansion, the boy sat silently at his father's side, as always. The guests exchanged polite, pitying smiles, commenting on the poor child who would never speak. The father accepted their sympathy with a stoic nod, reinforcing the narrative of hopelessness. But across the room, the nanny caught the boy's eye. He tapped his fingers lightly against the tablecloth, subtle but deliberate. Her heart raced. He was reaching out, here, in front of everyone. She mirrored the gesture, so discreet it could have gone unnoticed. His eyes widened, a spark of joy breaking through his still face. For the first time, he dared to show the world a glimpse of his hidden voice. But the father noticed. His expression hardened, suspicion flickering in his gaze. Later that night, he confronted her. "Don't give him false hope," he warned. "Don't embarrass this family." His words cut sharper than he knew, laced with both dismissal and prejudice. The nanny realized the truth. She was not just fighting for the boy's voice, she was fighting against a system of pride, denial, and quiet racism that sought to silence them both. The tension was reaching its breaking point. The boy had found a way to communicate, and she had found a way to hear him. But would the world, his father, ever be willing to listen? The breaking point came on a stormy night. Rain pounded against the mansion's tall windows, thunder echoing through the halls. The boy sat in the study with his father, silent as ever, while the nanny stood nearby. The billionaire's frustration boiled over. He slammed a hand on the desk. Enough of this charade. He will never change. But at that moment, the boy did something no one expected. His small hands began to tap a rhythm on the desk, fast, deliberate, unmistakably purposeful. His eyes locked on the nanny's, pleading for her to respond. She tapped back, completing his pattern, and the boy's face lit with recognition. Gasps filled the room. For the first time, the billionaire truly looked, not at his son's silence, but at his attempt to speak. Yet instead of wonder, anger flashed across his face. "Stop this nonsense!" he shouted, his voice sharp with denial. The boy's body trembled, but he didn't stop. His tapping grew louder, his gestures bolder, as if years of hidden words were spilling out at once. And when the nanny spoke softly, interpreting his signals aloud, every unspoken truth was laid bare. The billionaire's world shattered. His son was not broken. He had always been reaching out, just never to him. And the one person who had unlocked it all was the woman he had underestimated, dismissed, and quietly disrespected. In that moment, silence roared louder than thunder. A father's pride collided with a child's desperate plea to be heard. The room fell still after the storm of revelation. The boy's hands slowed, resting gently on the desk, his eyes glistening with both exhaustion and hope. The nanny stood by him, calm but unyielding, her voice steady as she repeated his signals aloud. For the first time, the father was forced to face the undeniable truth. His son had been communicating all along. Not broken, not lost, simply unheard. Shame burned through him, sharper than any insult. He thought of the years wasted, the moments missed, the countless times he had accepted the easy answer because it was convenient. He had surrounded himself with experts who told him what he wanted to hear. And in doing so, he had silenced the only voice that truly mattered, his child's. The nanny's courage had cracked open his pride, but more than that, it exposed the prejudice woven into his choices. He had trusted wealth over empathy, authority over humility, and in the process dismissed the one person who saw his son for who he truly was. A woman society underestimated, yet she had given his family the gift no amount of money could buy: connection. From that day forward, the mansion changed. The boy's rhythms became a language everyone learned. His laughter filled rooms once silent, and slowly, Even the father bent down to listen. But the deeper truth lingered. How many voices, just like his sons, were being ignored every day? How many children were dismissed because of pride, prejudice, or the blindness of privilege? This was not just one family's story, it was a mirror. And the question it left behind was one the world could not ignore. How many more voices must go unheard before we finally learn to listen?